The P. Diddy trials just ended, and it ended in a way that not everyone really wanted to see. In fact, not a lot of people wanted to see, but we're going to get into why it happened, what's going to happen now, and what's the future for Diddy looking like. So, to start, we're going to go over the actual counts that he was going for, and the counts are being what he's being sued for, what been taken to court for, and why he was even there, what could have gone to jail for. We're going to go over those. So, the first count is RICO. That's like gun, gang, any type of violent crime potentially processing charge. He was found not guilty on that one. That's a hard one to find guilty of. If you remember, Young Thug was found innocent of multiple counts of RICO in Atlanta about last year, actually. So RICO is one of those where you got to have solid evidence to really show he did it. So RICO's not surprising that he didn't get charged for. The ones that people are surprised about are the sex trafficking charges for Cassie Ventura and Jane. He was found not guilty in both of these, saying that they didn't find enough evidence that they were trafficked, even though both their statements said that Diddy had drugged them, Diddy had taken them at other places, had taken them to hotels just for other men to have their way with them, and sometimes women too. It's very shocking to see that the sex trafficking for at least one of them didn't pan out. But I guess the burden of proof wasn't laid out by the prosecution. However, he was found guilty on two charges. It was active transportation of prostitutes. In this case, they considered Jane and Cassie Ventura prostitutes and not sex trafficking, which the wording there may be a little easier to find him guilty on. It's a weird thing to find someone guilty rather than sex trafficking, just moving prostitutes around. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I guess it was at least some time to put him there, but I still don't think this is a fair trial. But either way, it's not what I think, right? It's kind of about what the jury has decided, and they were a hung jury. They couldn't decide, so he's found not guilty. Now we know he's been charged with 2 counts of transporting a prostitute. So what does that even mean? What does that mean for Diddy? Well, when you transport a prostitute, it carries about a 10-year sentence maximum. However, as we know in the legal sense, you usually don't get the maximum fine for anything, especially a rich person. So 2 counts of it, he'll be lucky to see maybe 2 to 3 years total. So maybe 5, 6 years at max, or at worst, and as it happened before, these type of counts sometimes end up in a probation. You don't even go to jail, you just end up probation. Now, I don't think that they're going to give him probation. They want to set a little bit of a standard with this case that they're not going to be okay with trafficking or potentially harmful conduct, especially the video of Diddy beating Cassie in the hotel. They don't want to be okay with harmful conduct, but they're not going to give him 20 years for 2 counts. That never happens, basically. So they said that they accused Combs of transporting his girlfriend Cassie Ventura and Jane as well as male escorts, as they say, to the purpose of prostitution, which is illegal, but it's not the same as a sex trafficking. Because sex trafficking requires the intent to kidnap and go, while prostitution requires the intent to just take them as a mean for sex to another place. It holds a way less time and long sentence. Later in the article down here, it talks about how they had hotel nights with Jane and how they were paid a lot of the times about $1,500 to $6,000 afterwards between the hotel nights in the freak offs, as they say, and they were trying to find him guilty for taking advantage, drugging them, and doing other sexually explicit things on video of Cassie Ventura and Jane, which, yes, I feel that this should have eventually led up to a sex trafficking charge, but I guess the reason that it didn't finish up in a sex trafficking charge is because, well, frankly, I guess they said yes. The idea is that they probably said yes to going to these things and they got paid for it, so it can't be sex trafficking. But that is not true, and the law has said before that sometimes when you say yes, it's not always a blanket yes. You don't always mean yes. Sometimes you're pressured by the thought of you can get hurt or someone you know could get hurt. In the case of Cassie Ventura, she feared for her life. She thought she was going to get in trouble, and she couldn't leave him for a long time. As you see in the CNN article here, it says that Cassie Ventura believes that Combs poses a, quote, danger to the victims who testified, as the lawyer tells her judge, and I think she makes a fair point. Diddy has a history of allegedly trying to put hits out on people or getting people knocked off, all the way back to like Tupac and Biggie, and another cases like Kid Cudi. Not very good history here. Now that he's getting free potentially because we'll see in the sentencing and what he could go to jail for. He might not go to jail for very long, if at all, but we'll still have to see because now he'll get bail. He's going to get a bond hearing at 5 p.m., so he's going to go get to go home after only putting on $1 million bond. So to say that they feel endangered is a fair thing to say, because it happens where you're a high profile person who has these allegations of knocking people off or trying to knock people off. You are rightfully so to fear for your life, and I think Cassie Ventura's life is in a credible state of danger, and along with everyone else who did testify against P Diddy, because P Diddy's a powerful man. He's got a lot of connections all over the industry, and some of the things that we heard in court about trying to kill people, or allegedly trying to kill people, it was a very scary idea to know that he might not serve any jail time. Now, with the bond comes with some proposals that needs to be met for him to actually get out. The first one is $1 million bond by his mom, sister, and the mother of his oldest daughter. He needs to be restricted to travel to parts of Florida, California, New York, and New Jersey. He will surrender his passport. He'll do drug testing as a regular thing. He cannot get high or anything, or he'll go straight to jail. And other normal bond hearing procedures before he gets sentenced. So that's a normal thing. It's actually fairly good to see that they're being a little more strict about some of his travel and where he can't go. But as it says here, he's been incarcerated for 10 months, and they want him to get out as fast as he can. And they also say that he is a flight risk. That's why they're taking away his passport, and that he could try to flee. Makes sense, right? I mean, he's a very rich guy. Rich people try to leave the country when they get in trouble. It just happens. As we see here later, or a previous statement, Cassie Ventura's friends penned a letter to the judge expressing that they fear for Combs' release when it comes to Cassie's safety and other people's safety as well, because Combs allegedly has a violent history. As we don't even need to say allegedly, as it's shown on video, he did beat Cassie in the hallway. So they have history of Sean Diddy Combs actually being violent towards Cassie. And there's no guarantee that he doesn't try to do it in a more grave or permanent manner in the future. Again, not saying he will, but there's a chance that he might. Because as you can see here, it says Mr. Combs has a long, well-documented history of violent, coercive, and retaliatory behavior, which is a fair thing to say, because as a lot of the testimonies have been brought out to the hearing in the courtroom, a lot of them talked about how Diddy tried to knock people off, try to kill them, do whatever he can to silence them, or to keep people in his circle. It's a very scary thing. And where do you go from here if you are someone who testified? It's unknown. Probably be in contact with lawyers, some form of protection agency, maybe security, something to keep them safe from Diddy, or allegedly keep them safe from Diddy, sorry, or any retaliatory action he might take for them in the legal sense, in the financial sense, or in just the physical sense. Now, according to this BBC article that was released back in May 27th, I believe, it says that Diddy took one of his former employees captive at gunpoint, broke into Cuddy's house, and a plot to kill the love rival. Capricorn Clark is the name of the employee for Diddy, who worked with him for more than a decade, said that on the trial that the security guard had shown up to the apartment in 2011 and forced her to drive with him to Cuddy's house. When the point to do that was allegedly saying that we're going to go kill this person. So, allegedly, according to this account in trial, P. Diddy wanted to kill Kid Cudi for trying to steal a relationship rival or a love interest, and so that just kind of really loops around and shows the violent nature that P. Diddy allegedly can have. Later in the article, it talked about how Kid Cudi went on the stand, and I don't know if I left it in, but I think I said Kid Cudi didn't go on the stand, but he did go on the stand to recount his time where Kid Cudi got into his Porsche, and apparently there was a Molotov cocktail thrown at his car that was in an effort to kill him in a firebomb, allegedly. Now, he's been found, again, not guilty on RICO, so we don't know if anything will stick, what Kid Cudi's safety is looking like now, too. Cudi is very popular. He has security bodyguards, and especially up to this point, I bet he is up that, too. But it kind of goes to show that a lot of what they were saying really intertwines with Capricorn, with what's her name? Capricorn Clark, right? Talking about how that Diddy and one of his security kidnapped her to go try to kill Cudi, and Cudi recounting that his Porsche was firebombed by a Molotov cocktail, and that Diddy did it, because that is not new information. That actually came out almost 15 years ago at this point. We knew it happened. This is not new information. So the whole point of it was to try to get it pinned on Diddy in court, and the jurors, I guess, they just couldn't decide whether Diddy did it or if it was just some random act. I'm not going to give my opinions here. It's not a place for that right now. It's just going over the trial. but it's an interesting thing we're gonna have to go forward for. And finally, we have the prosecutors actually trying to seek 4 to 5 years in prison for his 2 counts of transporting prostitutes. That is much less time than one. The maximums for both they can do. Maximum for both would be 10 years apiece, so 20 years total. And that is certainly much less time if you got convicted for sex trafficking of one of the two or both of the women. Um, and if you got in trouble for RICO, RICO carries a minimum 20-year charge, maximum life or multiple life year, depending on the crime. So 4 to 5 years, certainly, it felt like a slap in the face to the victims of the crime, especially Cassie Ventura, who, unlike some of those where you were just hearing in court what had happened, allegedly Diddy set it up or Diddy did it, we've seen Diddy physically beat Cassie Ventura in the hotel where he actually paid someone off to not say anything. Frankly, that probably should have gotten a charge too for trying to hide evidence of domestic assault and abuse. And other really dived in and considered if he was willing to do this and buy it off of someone in a public hotel in the hallway, who knows where else we could have done it to. That's regardless of the counts. So the sentencing guidelines range from 51 here to 63 months. Prosecution also argues in the letter that Combs is not entitled to release on bond, but they're going to have a bond hearing, and it's been set at $1 million, as we've heard, so he is already coming out on bond. Big issue there. We don't know when the sentencing will be. It will come in the next 2 to 3 months probably, though, but still, it's a very, very slippery slope where we go from here. 4 to 5 years for everything we've alleged, have heard from. Obviously, not all of it's admissible in court, but everything that you've heard on the internet, everything you've heard around the case happening, it certainly seems like 4 to 5 years is not a long time for someone who did all this, or allegedly did as much as he has done. But the law has spoken, the law has worked. Whether the law is good or not, it's certainly to be seen. A lot of people who reacted to it didn't think so. Frankly, I don't agree. I know I didn't say I want to give my opinions, but I don't agree to this. This is not a proper or fair outcome, in my opinion. But what do I know, right? I'm not a lawyer or a judge. So if he goes to jail for 4 or 5 years, I will be shocked because a lot of the times they could just work it out to probation, stating that he is not safe in jail. He'll just get probation. Hopefully he gets jail time because I think he did do a lot of bad things, and I think also as a justice system in the United States, we need to start setting precedent that rich people can go to jail and they will go to jail for doing these crimes. So many times have we seen rich people, very high off, elite status people, get in trouble for these heinous, serious crimes and get off with a slap on the wrist, a fine, some probation, and sometimes nothing really. It needs to be addressed a little better, and maybe this will be the deciding point. At some point in the future, we will take these cases a little more seriously and punish people a little more impromptu, a little better even. So maybe one day we'll get that, but not now. But so this is all we have on the Diddy case for now. If anything else happens, I probably won't make another video. There'd be so many people making videos on it, but we've got this to watch for in sentencing in a few months. We'll be back then, I guess, see what happens. So that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe down below. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.